Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to the Men Save Your Marriage show. My name is Terry. I'm your host. I did an autopsy on my failed marriage, and now I use the lessons that I learned to coach other men on how to save their marriage before it fails. I'm going to share with you the things I wish someone would have shared with me before my marriage failed. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hello, gentlemen, and welcome. You heard the bell. Welcome to the ring. It's time for the Men Save Your Marriage podcast. Are you ready for the fight? Here we go. Thanks for joining me today. As you know, my name is Terry, and today we're at episode number 9. Forgive me. Episode number 9. We're going to talk for just a few minutes today about balancing roles in marriage, and more specifically, when to lead and when to follow her. As we've gone through, as we've started this journey, of course, most of us are working to try to save our marriage. So this may be a place where you just take this information in and begin to think about it. But even if you're in a state or a place where your marriage isn't great and you're working to save it, or you figured out your marriage is failing, there's going to be times you need to just step up and lead. And then there's going to be other times where you need to be able to recognize, let me just follow her lead in this. So I just wanted to take a few minutes today and talk about this because I think we need to address some of the dynamics of leadership and partnership within a marriage. This is one of the big crucial things that was a huge mistake in my marriage years and years ago, because I was an up-and-coming leader in a company, a rather large company, and I was making my way up the chain, if you will, and I was really growing in my leadership, and they were pouring a lot into me, and I was doing a good job, but the problem was I was leading well at work, and I was coming home and thinking I needed to lead in everything. And I realized over time and sometime later that there were times I should have stepped back and let her have the lead in this area or in this specific thing, because her talents were more to that than mine were. Then I also remember a time where I was making so many decisions at work. When I came home, if she wanted to make all the decisions, I was fine with it because I was burnt out. So we have to really understand ourselves, and we have to understand the differences between leadership and partnership within a marriage. And I want to help you understand that today, to step up as a leader when it's important, but then also to know when to follow your wife's lead for the health of the relationship. So we're going to get into this for just a few minutes. As always, I'm going to come at you with just 3 kind of topics, highline topics, and then we'll discuss each one briefly. And so here we go. The first one, what does a healthy leadership in a marriage look like? And then I want to bring that around to how you can strengthen your marriage through that healthy leadership. Of course, I think we all kind of understand leadership, not necessarily, and you've seen the pictures and all of the, motivational stuff about a leader is not the one behind them, pushing them. It's actually the one out front, showing them the direction. And I think that's what it should be in a marriage. I think that's what leadership looks like just in general, whether it's in a marriage, in business, in life. And so are you out front, I guess is the first question I would ask. Are you out front showing her the way in most areas of your marriage? And where can you work on that? But how can you use this thought process to continue to strengthen, or to try to strengthen what could be a failing marriage? So I want to discuss this for a few minutes, and just a few points under this about what does healthy leadership in a marriage look like. Let's start here. You need to make it your responsibility to never stop getting to know each other. You need to constantly be getting to know her better and better. Just like if you were leading a team at work, you want to get to know the people on that team. You want to begin to understand, why this woman on the team is married, who's she married to, and what's their life like, and what are her aspirations. And, because on a team, you're going to have the one that's perfectly content to be where they are. Then you're going to have somebody else that wants to move up in the company. You're going to have somebody else that wants to progress in the organization. Somebody wants to go into sales. Somebody wants to go into management. Everybody has different dreams. Well, you need to get to know her different dreams. So you never need to stop getting to know each other. And I can promise you this, the dreams that she has at whatever age she is today are not the same dreams that she had 10 years ago. You know, I can vividly remember my wife's dreams when we were newly married were vastly different than they were years later. You know, because before it was about a family and it was about us, and then later on she was, you know, working on her professional dreams, and we had the kids, and suddenly we were completely different people. That was one of the downfalls to my marriage, is I stopped getting to know her. We were so busy with life, and I did not get to continually get to know her. I think that's an important word to put in there. So never stop continually getting to know each other, and you need to lead in this area, guys. Another one is we can't love someone we don't know. It simply cannot happen. So you've got to continually get to know them and understand she is a continually changing person. And one of the things that I have come to understand, as I have experienced in the coaching that I do and the men that I work with and the marriages that I work with, but also, you know, in my own marriage, as I look back over that, you know, and I've said many times, I kind of did an autopsy on my marriage. As I look back over those things, I think these things through. The times when my marriage was the best was when we had a strong friendship. So I think that's also critical in leadership in a marriage. The most stable couples have a strong friendship as their foundation. And with friends, you know, you've got to continually be checking in, continually working to help each other, to lift each other up. And so you're going to have to understand in leadership, in a marriage, yes, it's leadership. Yes, it's a partnership, but it's also a friendship. Okay, so these are just a few of the ideas you can begin to use to strengthen your marriage. Here's a good one, and here's one that'll vary, especially in the state that your marriage may be in today. If you're listening to this podcast, certainly in the stage that my marriage was in for the last number of years of the marriage, you've got to play together. That's one of the things that I'm sad to say that I failed to do, is we quit playing together. And so you need to. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's antiquing and just laughing and cutting up on a Saturday afternoon, if it's you both into golf and you golf together. Maybe you just, you know, once every couple of weeks you just take an evening and you go bowling. Everybody's got their own different thing. Do you like both go, you know, hang out at a pool hall and get a beer, or go to the movies together? But you've got to play together. How can you really be friends if you're not, you know, occasionally, sometimes just kind of hanging out, playing together? This one is obviously one that gets talked about a lot, but you got to schedule regular dates. Right now may not be the correct time in your marriage. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm making some assumptions. You're listening to this because either you suspect or you've decided you're in a failing marriage. So you may not be in a place where she wants to regularly schedule dates. Right now, it may be a win if you're just talking. I get that. I'm just planting these seeds for later on as you reclaim your marriage and as things kind of move back together and you get better and your relationships get better. This is one of the things that you're going to need to do. So even if it's not something you can do right now, you need to be able at some point as your marriage progresses to schedule regular dates. And then this one's kind of an internal thing, I think, but keep focusing on the good things about your partner. Especially if you're in a state where you're listening to this podcast. Again, I'm making those assumptions, but if you're listening to this podcast, maybe you and her haven't been in a good place. Maybe you haven't been in a good place for some time. But you need to focus on the good things. I would challenge you, if you could, figure out a way to pay her a different compliment every day, if you can. You know, hey, your hair looks nice today, or thank you for doing this, or you did a great job with that, or whatever it is. Because and then I want to emphasize the word different. And I'm doing that for a point. I'm doing that because that means you are starting to examine every facet of her, right? And you're focusing on the good things, and you've got to find more than one good thing. It can't be this one good thing every day, day after day after day after day. So find different things and focus on those things. Now, I want to drop a little nugget here as something that I learned some years ago in a conversation with someone, and this is a psychologist of sort talking about the relationship between a husband and wife. And they left me with this ratio. You should aim for at least, listen carefully, you should aim for at least 5 positive experiences for every negative one. Did you hear that? 5 positive experiences for every negative one. Now, what does that look like, Terry? Okay, here. So a negative experience could just simply be a disagreement. It could just be a little, I used to call them a dust-up, right? Or it's a fight, or it's an argument, or it's a complete disagreement, whatever it is. You know, and in your heart, you know when an experience is a negative one with her in your interactions, right? So for every negative one, you need to create and have 5 positive ones. Now, what's a positive reaction? It could just be, depending on where the relationship is, it could just be a gentle smile that she sees and a simple, recognition, nod of the head. Hey, it's like saying I love you with your eyes and your smile, right? A gentle touch. Now, these are non-sexual things, because if they're sexual things, they're no longer necessarily a positive experience. It's a positive experience to lead to an outcome. You want these to be non-sexual, a smile, a touch, right? Just a simple touch, or touching her arm or holding her hand, that kind of a thing. A laugh. A laugh is so valuable. Have you done something? Have you found something in your marriage over the years where you could make her laugh? You need to lean into that. You need to see that girl smile and make her laugh as often as possible, whatever that may be. And I told you a few minutes ago, find good things about your partner. Well, the corollary to that is complimenting her. Don't just find them, tell her. Hey, you look really good today. Man, that dress looks great. Are you losing weight? Or your hair looks great? Or whatever. You know her. You need to find ways to compliment her. But just keep this in the back of your mind. For every negative experience, you need to have 5 positive ones. That's the ratio you need to operate under. So if there was a dust up last night at dinner, as you two were talking about the monthly bills, whatever it is, well, you need to create 5 positive experiences, right? Just something simple this morning as you walk past her in the bathroom, just a gentle touch, say, hey, good morning. Or a smile, or if you can make her laugh, oh, that is so valuable. And pay her compliments, okay? She's trying too. She's struggling too, just like you are. Don't be afraid to do these things, okay? Now, leadership, more leadership in the marriage in this relationship piece, okay? So as we talk about this and what healthy leadership looks like, real quick, here's just like 4, 5, 6 bullet points. Number 1, habitually turn to each other. When you feel like you want to turn away from her, that's when you need to turn into her. Whether it's conversation, whether it's love, whether it's just being together, whatever it is, habitually turn towards each other. Second one, if it's at all possible, depending on where your marriage is right now, make it a regular practice of spending 15 minutes together at the end of your day. Okay, the first few times you do it, it may be weird. It may just be the two of you sitting in silence for 15 minutes. It's figure out a way to talk to her, ask her how her day was, whatever it is, and then you can begin to form that 15 minutes into a way that you can kind of give her a space to download, and you get a space to download with each other for the day. Because now you've gone back to that first one, and you're habitually turning to each other. Okay, but now you're spending 15 minutes together, and you're what? You're putting her mind at ease. You're leading in the marriage is what you're doing. You're giving her a space to decompress. You have a space to decompress, and you're doing it with somebody that you love and trust, right? And then let her influence you. Let your partner influence you. This one is so critical. You married her for a reason. She's smart. She's beautiful. She's funny. She knows some things that you don't. She's got some talents that you don't. Let her influence you in those areas. And I don't care what arguments you've had, what things have been said, how things have gone in the past. She's still the person that you fell in love with, and you need to influence her, or let her influence you in different ways in your life. And then develop a habit and process for addressing conflict. This one is critical because one of the mistakes that I continually made early on in my marriage, and I figured it out, but then as things started to fall apart, I realized later that it came back, is that once a negative experience started, whether it was a disagreement, an argument, whatever it may have been, just whatever, once something started, for some reason, I had the need to prove my point, and obviously that meant I would escalate things, and I would ultimately lose. Oh, I may have won the argument, but I lost the war. And you're going to have to figure out a process of addressing conflict. I recently heard a very interesting approach to this, because what happens is, you say something, then she says something, and then you say something, then she says something, and as it begins to escalate, now what you're really doing, and this is what I heard, and this is what I kind of come to understand, is that what you're really doing is you're telling her, and as things escalate, you're saying to her, but here's what I did right, and here's what you did wrong. And one of the ways you could de-escalate that, right in the dead middle of a fight. Wait. Just hold on. I'm telling you, can you imagine saying this to her? What happens? I'm telling you what I did right, and I'm telling you what you did wrong. That's not getting us anywhere. You're getting more angry. I'm getting more angry. So here's what I'm going to do. This is leadership in a marriage. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start telling you what I did wrong and start telling you what you did right. Now, what's going to happen? So I did this wrong, but you did that right, and I understand what you did, and you did that right, and I did this wrong, but you did this right, and it completely will change the dynamic of the argument, because now she has no choice, and she is being led to come back and say to you, well, I might have done this wrong, but you did that right. Okay? In a matter of minutes, you've completely de-escalated the fight. Are there still problems to resolve? Sure there are. Are there still disagreements? Absolutely. But you've de-escalated what could have blown up much larger than it did. So develop that habit and process. I don't care what it is, for addressing conflict. I have one couple I know, and if there's an argument, they know, they go to the table, they sit down, and they keep a salt and pepper shaker on their table, and one of them will grab the salt shaker, and if it's in front of them, it's their turn to speak. And they need to say what they need to say. The rules when they sit down at the table, they've agreed on these rules in advance. When we sit down at the table, you cannot raise your voice, you cannot yell. And I have to trust you to say what you need to say, and I'm going to listen while you have the salt shaker, because while the salt shaker's in front of you, that's your time to speak. And I'm going to listen what you have to say, but I have to trust that as soon as you're done saying what you need to say, you're going to offer the salt shaker to me so I can speak. Same rules for me. I can't raise my voice. I can't yell. I can't get defensive. And the salt shaker's mine, and I get to say what it is I need to say. And then you have to trust that I'm going to offer the salt shaker back to you. All they're really doing is using the salt shaker as a tool to slow themselves down, to calm themselves down, so that they can work through a problem instead of fight and escalate it and make it more than it is. So you have to develop a habit and process for addressing conflict. And this is what leadership looks like in the marriage. And then the last one, real quickly, develop a shared purpose. Agree on a big purpose for life and marriage. Where you want to go on just start with a big scale. Why? Because then it's something you agree on. I don't care if it's just, we agree we're going to stay married until we've been together 50 years or until one of us dies, or 70 years until one of us dies, or what's the big purpose in our marriage. Depending on where your children are, your purpose may be raising your kids, and just getting them in, through high school or through college or whatever. Figure out something together that the two of you have a big purpose in life, because now, even no matter what kind of shape your marriage may be in, right? Because at that point now we've at least agreed on this. We can, if everything else fails, we know we're both working towards this one shared goal. And that may be just the thing you need to start working towards better things in your marriage. So that was the biggest section there, and that was, what healthy leadership in marriage looks like. So then now this next one, here's some examples of when it's important to follow her lead, okay? Because you need to play to your individual strengths. In many relationships, the wife naturally excels in different areas. My wife excelled in organization and decision making and long-term planning. My wife was very much more better equipped at dealing with the home budget. She used to question me, how can you not care about the home budget, or how can you screw something up when you go to work and I know you're dealing with a $15 million budget that you manage every day and do it excellent. And I think I didn't understand it at the time, but I think the truth of it was, by the time I finished my work day, I'd made so many decisions, I've been dealing with so many budgetary things. When I got home, I really just didn't want to deal with it. And so we learned there was a season for a number of years there where she dealt with the home budget. I just didn't, because I didn't have the bandwidth anymore when I got home to deal with it, because I'd been dealing with a $15 million budget at work. So you got to figure out where she's stronger, where she naturally excels in these areas. Okay. Again, and if your wife's more financially savvy, then let her manage that. If she's better at organization, let her manage that. Whatever it is, figure out where it's important to follow her lead. And then in those areas, let her lead. That's the partnership part of marriage. So that's the second one. So what does leadership look like? Here's some examples of when to follow her lead. And then last, some tips for balancing decision-making with power struggles. And I'm just going to offer one tip. I have one couple that I counsel and I coach and I work with him. And they've figured out, they call it the 2 yes rule. And they set some guidelines, the financial guidelines, some big decision guidelines. And all it really does is promote thoughtful decision-making, because if we're going to make a decision, like I think their number is $300. If one of them is going to spend more than $300, it started at $300, it's more now. But if one of us is going to spend, we're looking to commit to spend more than $300, let's check in with each other and let's have 2 yeses on it. Okay? So it does. It promotes thoughtful decision-making, because now I've got to, at least on some level, come and help you understand why I'm making this decision. Okay? And then this 2 yes rule, obviously thoughtful decision making, it encourages healthy communication and trust, right? I got to trust that she's not going to go out and spend more than that, whatever that number is, or she's not going to make this decision without me, any decisions about the children without me, whatever it may be. So it promotes thoughtful decision making, it encourages healthy communication and trust, and then finally it supports individuality, but within a partnership, right? Here's the decision I'm thinking about making, but I need you to check in with me and give me a yes on this. Here's why I'm doing it. I want you to understand that. So find ways that you can balance decision making without huge power struggles within your marriage. There's ways to do it. You can do it. So that's what you need to do. So this is what it looks like, gentlemen, to balance the roles in marriage. How to be a leader, but also how to follow and when to follow her. And what does a partnership and leadership look like? These are things that you have to figure out. And as you work to bring your marriage, whatever state it is in, whatever, as you work to bring it back to a healthy state, these are obstacles that you're going to have to deal with. This is an opportunity for you to grow, maybe more so and differently from the husband you were before the marriage started to fall apart. Okay? I thank you for being here today. I want you to join the conversation. I have a brand new free guide up. You can go to msym.cc. That's MSYM for Men Save Your Marriage. msym.cc. Right there on the homepage, there's a brand new free guide. I want you to go get that free guide. Join the mailing list so we can stay in touch. If you have questions or comments, guys, you can text me and message me at 812-648-3380. My name is Terry, and I appreciate you being here today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.